Have you ever faced a moment where the odds were so stacked against you, it felt like victory was impossible? A moment where everything you believed in was on the line? Today, we're going to travel back in time, over 1,400 years ago, to a desert valley in Arabia, where a tiny group of believers stood against a seemingly invincible force. This is the story of the Battle of Badr, a day that forever changed the course of history, a day that proves true victory comes not from earthly power, but from something far, far greater. It's the second year after the Hijrah. The early Muslims, having fled persecution in Makkah, have found a new home in Madinah, but peace is fragile. The Quraysh of Makkah, their former tormentors, are not finished. Consumed by pride and rage, they gather a formidable army. Imagine the scene. 1,000 warriors, clad in iron, armed with swords and spears, their cavalry of 100 horses kicking up dust, their chests puffed with arrogance. They are the superpower of Arabia, and they are marching to crush the nascent Muslim community once and for all. Now, picture the other side. On the plains of Badr, under the same scorching sun, stands a group of just 313 men. 313. They have only 2 horses and 70 camels, which they take turns riding. Many don't even have proper armor, some carrying only palm branches as weapons. In worldly terms, this wasn't a battle. It was a suicide mission. The sheer disparity was overwhelming. From a purely military standpoint, the outcome was a foregone conclusion. But these 313 men carried a weapon that the Quraysh could never comprehend. A force more powerful than any sword or spear. Unwavering faith in Allah. As the two armies faced each other, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. This was more than just a clash of men. It was a clash of ideologies. On one side, idolatry, arrogance, and worldly power. On the other, toward the belief in one God, humility, and spiritual certainty. In that heavy, silent moment before the first clash, the leader of the believers, our beloved Prophet Muhammad, turned away from the armies and towards his Lord. He raised his hands to the heavens, his face etched with worry, his heart pouring out in the most profound supplication. He prayed, "O Allah! Here are the Quraysh, coming with all their vanity and pride, trying to discredit your messenger. O Allah, I ask you for the victory that you have promised me." He prayed with such intensity, his cloak slipping from his shoulders, as he pleaded, "O Allah, if this small group of believers is destroyed today, there will be none left on this earth to worship you." Think about the weight of that prayer. The future of Islam, the legacy of all the prophets before him, rested on the outcome of this day. It was a moment of complete and utter reliance on the Almighty. The companions watched him, their own hearts filled with a mixture of fear and unshakable resolve. They knew their leader was not just a general. He was Allah's messenger, and his connection to the divine was their ultimate source of strength. The battle began, as was the custom with duels. 3 of Quraysh's mightiest champions strode forward, challenging the Muslims. From the Muslim ranks stepped forth 3 lions, Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet, Ali ibn Abi Talib, his young, courageous cousin, and Ubaidah ibn al-Harith. The clashes were swift and decisive. Hamza and Ali defeated their opponents quickly, demonstrating incredible skill and bravery. The message was sent: do not underestimate the believers. As the full-scale battle erupted, the field became a whirlwind of dust and steel. Despite being outnumbered 3-1, the Muslims fought with a courage that defied logic. Each companion had a story etched into the sands of Badr. There was Ali, a whirlwind of righteous fury, fighting with a valor that would become legendary. There was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, standing steadfast by the Prophet's side, his calm and reassuring presence a pillar of support. His faith was so certain, so solid, it was a fortress in itself. And then there was Bilal ibn Rabah, the former slave who had been brutally tortured for his faith in Mecca. As he stood on the battlefield, a free man fighting for the cause he had suffered for, can you imagine what went through his mind? The echoes of his own cries, "Ahad, Ahad! One, one!" Sunder the crushing weight of a hot boulder, now transformed into a battle cry of victory. His presence on that field was a testament to the promise of Islam, that dignity and honor are not found in lineage or wealth, but in devotion to Allah. But the story of Badr isn't just about human courage. It's about a divine promise fulfilled. As the battle raged, Allah answered the desperate prayer of His messenger. In Surah Al-Anfal, the Quran immortalizes this moment. Remember when you prayed to your Lord for help, He answered you. I will reinforce you with 1,000 angels, following one another in succession. Suddenly the believers felt a new wave of strength. The tide of the battle began to turn in a miraculous way. The proud Quraysh, so confident in their numbers and equipment, began to falter. They saw the faces of warriors they did not recognize. Fear, a feeling they intended to inflict, now gripped their own hearts. Their alliance broke, their arrogance shattered, and they fled in disarray. The small, poorly equipped band of 313 believers had achieved the impossible. They had defeated a force 3 times their size. The leaders of disbelief, men who had spent years persecuting the Muslims, like Abu Jahl, were vanquished on that day. The victory was absolute, and it was decisive. When the dust settled, the Muslims gathered the spoils, cared for their wounded, and honored their martyrs. But more importantly, they gathered for a lesson that would echo through eternity. The Prophet Muhammad taught them humility and victory. The prisoners of war were treated with a kindness and respect unheard of in that era. Those who were literate were even allowed to earn their freedom by teaching 10 Muslim children how to read and write. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a moral one. So, what is the ultimate lesson of Badr for us today, sitting here centuries later? It's a powerful, timeless reminder. The story of Badr teaches us that the scales of victory are not always weighed with numbers, wealth, or weapons. True strength lies in the heart. It lies in tawakkul, complete trust, and ilah. It lies in sabr, patience, and perseverance in the face of hardship. And it lies in sacrifice, being willing to give up what is dear to you for a cause greater than yourself. When you face your own Badr, be it a difficult exam, a challenge at work, a personal struggle, or a moment where you have to stand up for what is right against overwhelming opposition, remember this story. Remember the 313. Remember the Prophet's heartfelt dua. Remember that, when you align your intentions with Allah's will, when you put in your sincere effort and then place your ultimate trust in Him, He can create victory from the most impossible of circumstances. The Battle of Badr is not just a historical event. It's a blueprint for success in all aspects of life. It teaches us that with faith, even a small group can move mountains. With sincerity, the weakest hand can be strengthened. And with Allah's help, there is no odd that cannot be overcome. The legacy of Badr is the unshakable truth that victory belongs to those who stand firm for Allah. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. I hope this story has inspired you as much as it inspires me every time I reflect on it. If you found this video beneficial, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our future explorations into the most powerful stories from our history. Share this video with someone who might need a reminder that with faith, anything is possible. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.